said that it would consider striking the bases of the US, France, and the UK if they helped Israel.
Warning to the United States, France, and the United Kingdom that their bases and ships in the Middle East will be targeted if they help Israel.
Iran has just issued a chilling warning to Britain, the US, and France. Interfere in Israel, and your military bases will be targeted. What does this threat mean for global stability? And is a wider war now inevitable?
That threat from Iran, well, that threat, of course, it should be taken seriously because it's against Western powers who help Israel.
Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great, thank you so much. Now, back to the video. Iran's latest statement isn't just a warning, it's a test, a deliberate move in the region's fragile chessboard. Their threat to target Western military bases and naval assets should the US, UK, or France step in to support Israel shifts the stakes dramatically.
Said that it would consider striking the bases of the US, France, and the UK if they helped Israel.
Against the backdrop of the recent missile exchanges between Israel and Iranian proxies, this escalation is impossible to ignore. Just days ago, reports detailed heavy rocket fire from Gaza and skirmishes near Israel's northern border, actions many believe are coordinated by Tehran. These moves, coupled with Iran's direct threat, send a clear message. The region's balance of power is being redefined, and Western involvement comes with consequences. For Western powers, this isn't just a question of defending an ally. It's about the survival of their regional influence.
Warning to the United States, France, and the United Kingdom that their bases and ships in the Middle East will be targeted if they help Israel.
Take, for example, Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar, a pivotal hub for US operations in the Middle East. Similarly critical are the British naval deployments in Bahrain and French logistical operations in the UAE. Iran's threats call these assets into question, raising the stakes for any decision to support Israel militarily. It's a catch-22. Act and risk retaliatory strikes against valuable infrastructure, or hold back and risk marginalizing their influence in the region. Historical precedent doesn't make this any easier. Consider the Gulf War in 1990, when the invasion of Kuwait pulled Western powers into a conflict they couldn't ignore. Alliances became chains, as the broader implications of leaving Iraq unchecked outweighed the risks of engagement. Today, the parallels are striking. Except Iran's military capacity poses a far more complex threat than Saddam Hussein ever did. From advanced missile systems to heavily armed proxy groups across the Middle East, Tehran holds significant leverage in any potential clash. Experts warn that the nature of assets in the region amplifies the risk. Beyond physical military installations, even critical shipping lanes like the Strait of Hormuz could come under threat, disrupting global oil supplies. Iran's warning is, in many ways, a strategic move, less about initiating direct conflict and more about discouraging Western intervention. But as the tension intensifies, the question remains: will this strategy succeed, or does it edge the region closer to war? Diplomacy now carries the burden of preventing these events from spiraling further.
Also says that altogether, Iran has fired 200 missiles fired in 4 barrages at Israel. That's resulted in 3 deaths in central Israel.
World leaders are scrambling to prevent the crisis in the Middle East from spiraling further, but any path toward diplomacy faces steep obstacles. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer and US President Donald Trump recently underscored their commitment to dialogue in a phone call about the escalating tensions. They emphasized the need for diplomacy to manage the fallout between Iran and Israel, but such discussions are being held against a ticking clock. For Tehran, these overtures from the West may be less about peace and more an attempt to undermine their position in the region.
The United States helped Israel intercept some of those Iranian missiles overnight as Iran retaliated for that Israeli attack.
The accusations from Iran are clear. They view Western actions as violations of sovereignty and direct breaches of the UN Charter. Amir Said Irai, Iran's representative to the United Nations, has described US involvement as nothing less than an unprovoked assault on Iranian sovereignty. These words resonate deeply within Tehran and create major challenges in bridging the divide. Drawing comparisons to other high-stakes standoffs offers insight into the complexity of the moment. In 1962, the Cuban Missile Crisis showed how diplomacy under the shadow of military escalation can bend to the breaking point. Like then, today's urgency carries not just regional consequences but global implications. A single miscalculation threatens to turn what is now sharp rhetoric and limited military exchanges into a full-blown conflict.
Now, neither the US, nor France, nor the UK wants to be dragged into this conflict.
The stakes may not be nuclear this time, but the potential for sustained violence across the Middle East could ripple far beyond the region. Complicating efforts further is the fractured nature of Western strategies. While France has offered vocal support for Israel, they've drawn a line at offensive operations against Iran.
Itself against Iran. Now, there's no indication that France has helped Israel defend itself, but the intent was certainly there.
Emmanuel Macron made his stance clear, stating that France stands ready to assist Israel if Iran launches further attacks. This measured position underscores France's attempt to play a balancing act, but it also highlights the lack of unity among Western allies. For Iran, cracks like these among powerful nations only provide leverage. Diplomacy, even though favored, risks becoming an empty gesture. Without cohesion among Western powers, Iran may see little incentive to scale back. What happens next if talks collapse? That question looms large. The situation in the Middle East exposes how easily regional disputes can spiral into global crises. Iran's warning to Britain, the US, and France transforms this from a localized conflict to one with far-reaching consequences.
And Israel's defense minister has warned this morning that, quote, Tehran will burn if it continues firing missiles at Israel, which it has vowed to do.
Now, Iran has threatened the US, France, and the UK against helping Israel defend itself against Iranian strikes.
Their threat to target Western military bases reflects a deliberate strategy to deter intervention, but it also raises the risk of miscalculation. With leaders struggling to unify their response, the potential for escalation grows.
Iran continued targeting Israel with a barrage of missiles this morning. Israeli military officials say most were intercepted.
Attacks. This is against countries which help Israel defend itself from Iranian attacks.
As military and diplomatic decisions hang in the balance, the question is clear. Can the West navigate this precarious moment, or are we witnessing the early stages of a broader, more dangerous confrontation?